everyone, I'm Connor Bronston, one of your Dev Interrupted community leaders, and today I'm joined by Luca Rossi. Luca, can you introduce yourself to those of us in the audience who may not be familiar with you?
Hi, Connor. Thank you so much for having me. My name
Absolutely.
is Luca. I write an engineering leadership newsletter called refactoring.club. It goes out weekly to more than 10,000 subscribers. And
I'm one of them.
I know, thank you. I'm head of engineering at translated.com, and I've been co-founder and CTO of Wanderio.com, which was a VC-backed startup in the travel space in Italy.
Fantastic. Well, we're really excited to have you here with us today, and I'm stoked to have you share with the Interact audience this engineering leadership screw-up story that I heard you have. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, it was hard to choose one because we have had so many, but so I had to choose the one that feels more like humorous to me, and also that has maybe the best lessons learned that I could think of. So this story is about doing something that, I mean, didn't really scale, and that was not a bad thing by itself, but it turned out to be kind of a nightmare for some aspects. My startup worked in a travel space and allowed people to compare and book transportation, flights, trains, buses. And for some time, we worked with a meta search approach. So if you search for how to go from A to B, you would get how to go with flights, with trains. And then you went to the transport company's website to book and to pay for the tickets, like Skyscanner does, right? But at some point, we saw the opportunity to close the funnel within our website and within our app. So to make people make the payment and book the tickets on our own platforms. But we weren't really sure that that would be the right call from the business point of view, from the user experience point of view. And it would also be a very intensive engineering activity because we would have to connect the booking systems of all of our partners, and there were maybe tens of them. And we estimated that it would take several months, like 4 to 5 months to do this. So we decided to try to do something like just try it out if this would work in a lean way, do things that don't scale way. And we just integrated the payment gateway, like Stripe, to make people make the payment on the website. But then when a booking come, we would get a notification and we would go manually to the transport company website and book the ticket.
Wait, so the engineering team is manually doing it, or who's manually doing this?
At the beginning, it was, the 3 founders of us.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's all on founders, when in doubt, it's on founders. And so we released it. And it was actually a great success. We were really happy because people were happy about the feature. We actually released this in a very little time to market, let's say. And we started receiving these bookings that there weren't even like so many bookings because our volumes were small. Mm-hmm. But then the problems started very soon because even if there were a few bookings, they could really come anytime, either during the day or during the night, over weekends. And so we had to make shifts to manage them. And literally wherever we went, we had to move with backpacks because, and we all have stories about the strangest situations or places where we had to interrupt what we were doing.
What's your number one place where it's like, oh, I have to go do this now?
I have like an incredible memory of me taking out my laptop at 3 a.m. in the morning in a pub where everyone was half sleeping, but dim lights. And at some point I opened my MacBook, shine the light in all the bar, and the startup sound of the MacBook. It's full volume, and everybody thinks what this guy is doing. And I was booking a flight on the British Airways website because the customer would depart in the morning, the day after.
How long did this go on for?
Here it comes the horror story because we thought that it would take eventually 4 to 5 months to automate all this stuff.
Yeah, tough, but you could deal with it.
Yes. While instead, it took, I think, 1.5 to 2 years to automate like 95% of the bookings. So with like you with a 5% that never went away, basically, because of edge cases and things like that. And we ended up managing like 50,000 bookings manually this way.
Wow. That's a lot of time.
It's a lot of time. And so at the beginning, it was just the founders. Then we had to give these shifts also to other people in the team. And then we eventually hired dedicated people, like people who could care about the customer success and the booking desk operations, as we call them.
So it helped you get into market quickly, and
yes,
there was some success there, but it sounds like there were a lot of trade-offs because of that.
Yes, definitely. And I think we made a few mistakes with this, because I think in the end, it was the right call for the business. But I think we made 2 mistakes. The first mistake is that we didn't really plan for what would come next. And so we did this thing of saying, okay, let's release this in a lean way, but we didn't properly iterate on it from the day after. And so in the end, it wasn't lean. It was just poorly thought from the day after. And working on that after some time, everything becomes harder, if you, because you lose that context, you maybe start working on other things, and it becomes hard to properly prioritize this, because at the beginning, when you have like 10 bookings per day, it's hard to make the call of saying, let's take the 5 to 6 months of the engineering team to automate something and to save time for 10 bookings per day,
Right.
But when you are in a high growth environment, there are issues that grow with your growth. And
that's definitely one of them.
There's definitely one of them. Quite easy to see, if I have to be honest. But the only way to address them properly is to address them while they're small. Otherwise, it becomes easily too late. And it became too late, periodically, because we went into this cycle of automating some partners, and then things seemed to be better, and then eventually got out of control again. And it caused a lot of friction, because there were, the parts of the team that had to deal with the bookings, with the support, that periodically thought that the engineering didn't care about them, that they preferred to work on revenue generating things, while instead indirectly, that was of course a revenue generating part of the company, because it improved the efficiency, effectiveness of people.
Right.
So it's been hard, but we eventually got there, and we definitely learned from this process.
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear you talk about it, because it sounds like, yes, it was maybe initially the right call, but it was the decisions afterwards that compounded on each other that made it turn into such a boondoggle.
Yes, definitely. And I think if we had to go back in time, the right way would have been to plan for this early release, but also to plan for maybe different scenarios and how they would play out, but start working on automation right away. So as soon as we saw that this feature was the right call, we would have to make a proper plan, or maybe do it in part in advance, about working on integrating such APIs from our partners and so on. Because that would have given also the team, the tranquility, the conviction that we were working on this, even if it would take a long time, that we would care about this. And even if the roadmap was long, maybe we wouldn't be able to do this in 4 to 5 months anyway. Maybe it would have taken 1 year, but we were on it. This was a priority in the company.
That sounds like it affected team dynamics and team culture and togetherness.
Yes. This affected the planning part of the company, the culture, the engagement of people. Because eventually our business was about making bookings. So this was like the core part of the booking. So we had to make this right,
Absolutely. Wow. That is such an interesting and I think in-depth story because it gives us so many angles to consider it by, whether it was the right decision initially and then how it kind of compounded and changed. Thank you so much for taking the time to tell that. I know our audience is loving this. Luca, thank you for taking the time to join us for Interact.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was my pleasure.